What if, overnight, your entire life changed? No one plans for disability. It's not on your vision board. It's not some goal you set or some aspiration you have. But it happened to me. And before it did, I assumed people with disabilities were taken care of, that their needs were met beyond the basics. I assumed if you saw a disabled person thriving in the media, that must mean that most of them were. I had no idea how much of a privilege it was to be able-bodied until I wasn't. At 17, I became severely ill. Overnight, my world turned upside down. What started out as glandular fever turned out to be the start of something far worse. Overnight, my independence and sense of self were taken from me. Friends used to come around and could expect a good laugh. Now people came around and I broke down in tears and I could barely function. When this happens, you start to experience life differently. You start to see life differently. This journey led me to truly understand what it means to thrive beyond the clinical. I went from being a busy, social, slightly wild teenager, doing things I shouldn't have been doing, to feeling completely isolated. That's why I'm here today, to talk to you about the power of community and connection. I'm Hannah. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and most recently, I found out I have early onset Parkinson's. And believe me, that diagnosis was inconvenient because of my tremor. People always think I'm nervous or they think something else is wrong. But the hardest part wasn't just the physical symptoms. It was the loneliness, the disconnection. When your world is falling apart, you don't just need medical care. You need care for your mind, your heart, and your spirit. You need people. You need support. You need to feel like you belong. When we think of disability, we think of the clinical services, resources, and medical support. And whilst I use them, they're vital. Even then, people's needs aren't fully met. And if they are, that's where the conversation stops. But surviving is not the same as thriving. There's a big difference. Thriving isn't just about managing symptoms. It's about purpose, joy, and belonging. Over 1 billion people, around 15% of the global population, live with some form of disability, a number that's growing. I want you to picture this. If everyone with a disability stood shoulder to shoulder, they would circle the earth nearly 40 times. Disconnection and lack of inclusion affect us all. Inclusion is not just about disability. It's about shifting our assumptions, seeing the full picture, and really listening. Because inclusion is not just a checkbox, it's a mindset. I had to have my own shift and perspective. For a long time, I resisted online health communities. I thought, how could this replace the friends I already had? But it wasn't about replacement. It was about a different kind of human connection. When I finally came round to seeing this, something shifted. I didn't just meet people that sympathized, they understood. These connections were as vital as any medical treatment I received. And it's what brought me to where I am today. to thriving beyond the clinical. It wasn't easy, but I have got here. And here's the thing. This isn't just my story. It's a global story, a universal need that transcends borders. Even here, it's not just in the UK, it's everywhere across the world. Through these conversations, I felt less alone. From there, I found ways to support myself and support others. And I branched out, not just into health spaces, but to mindfulness, spirituality, and well-being. I wasn't just a patient. I was a person with dreams, talents, and contributions to make. In so many places, disability is met with stigma, exclusion, and a primary focus on survival rather than thriving. And yes, perhaps here in the UK, we do better than in some places, but there's still a long way to go. And many of the systems that are in place are not quite as supportive as they should be. What we don't talk about enough is what does it take for a disabled person to thrive beyond managing symptoms. Imagine a world where disabled people can thrive beyond the clinical, see their worth, share their gifts. Is transformative. You may be thinking, why does this matter to me? Disability can happen to anyone at any time through aging, an accident, or an illness. It doesn't discriminate. One of my close friends at 15 had a car accident and was left paralyzed. Overnight, her entire life changed, and she still lives with the consequences of this every single day. Even if you are not directly affected, someone in your life likely is. What we build now isn't just for today's disabled people, it's for the future. Incremental changes create lasting change. And yes, I recognize the economic challenges, but we can still do more. We are facing a global epidemic of loneliness. Despite social media, people are more disconnected than ever. Inclusive communities, whether physical or virtual, are an antidote to loneliness. They don't just enrich disabled people, they enrich everyone. When disabled people are included, not just as tokens, but as equal participants, we all gain perspectives that challenge, inspire, and transform us. Inclusion gave me hope. And we need to help others believe that thriving is possible again. Disabled people add value to the world. So what does inclusion look like in action? It's not just about ramps. Ramps should be a given, not a privilege. Yet, every time I see one, I feel lucky. That tells us something. No one wants to be sat outside in the rain, wondering if they can get into a building, or to be rescued by the fire brigade because the disabled lift hadn't been properly maintained. Even if the firemen were hot, believe me, it's not a great feeling. Inclusion is about relationships. It's about reframing accessibility as an opportunity, not an afterthought. We need to get disabled people into boardrooms and in the center of discussion around accessibility. This is essential, and not just rely on able-bodied people to be making these decisions. How can you make a difference? Here are 4 key things I believe that can help. Number 1, listening. Number 2, advocacy. Number 3, celebrating. And number 4, connection. We have to start by listening. Taking time to hear the voices of those around you, colleagues, classmates, community members. This involves active listening, where we're not only just hearing the voices, but we're hearing the emotions and experiences behind them. Asking yourself, what barriers am I not seeing? Whether it's in your workplace, in classrooms, an online space. We are often blind to barriers because we've never faced them. So looking at how we can make these spaces more welcoming is essential. Next, advocate. Using your voice to promote inclusivity and accessibility, even if it doesn't directly affect you. Standing up for those who face challenges creates meaningful change. And I know through personal experience, when friends and family and people around me have done this, the huge difference that it makes. Small changes like captions on videos, out text on pictures, flexible options within the community make a huge difference. And when we do this, we start creating small ripples and changes. Next, celebrate. Acknowledge and celebrate the small victories, no matter how small. This creates a culture of inclusivity and encourages ongoing commitment to this. Finally, connect. Engage with people who have different experiences to you. Ask them their stories and their dreams. Inclusion is inherently personal. It's about building relationships and sharing and seeing different perspectives. Let this be an invitation to get curious about the disabled people in your lives. Let me share what my dreams were before I got unwell. I was always interested in yoga, alternative therapies, self-help. I thought I may have a yoga studio or a therapy center and be sharing this knowledge. Interestingly, I do share this knowledge, just not in the way I expected. Whilst I don't have a yoga studio or a therapy center, I do have a blog and a podcast, and I get to speak at various events where I get to talk about these things. I can do this because I have support and help every day. I had to learn to ask for this help to meet my needs. This support I had to fight for. It wasn't easy, and it still remains a challenge to this day. I found a way to make these spaces more inclusive, to bridge the gaps. When people are truly supported, thriving becomes possible. I'm proof of that. And that's why I'm here today, to show you what happens when we move beyond the bare minimum and we create real connection. This isn't about people pushing beyond their limits. It's about the little things that create small changes that create a better quality of life and helping people to thrive within their own version. This world starts with us today. Small actions ripple outwards, building truly inclusive communities. When people feel valued, heard, and feel inspired, they begin to live better lives. Let's see each other fully. Community and connection are our most powerful tools for change, and it really does begin with that deeper commitment to looking at those barriers that are not visible to us. As I reflect on my journey here today, one profound truth stands out. Disabled people can thrive against the odds, but it takes a collective effort. I didn't navigate these challenges alone. It was the unwavering support of my community that helped me rise above. Now I ask you to envision a world where we extend this same support to one another. Imagine the unlimited possibilities when we uplift each other, celebrate our strengths, and share in our struggles. Because the reality is, none of us can thrive in isolation. We flourish together, drawing strength from our shared experiences, connections, and collective resilience. I want to leave you with this. Imagine a world where thriving isn't a privilege, but a right. Where belonging is universal, where accessibility is foundational, where seeing disabled people thriving and succeeding isn't a surprise. Let's commit to building a future where we actively nurture this spirit of collaboration. Together, we can create a tapestry of hope and empowerment that not only enriches our lives, but the lives of everyone around us. So I urge you, let's uplift, unite, and thrive together. Thank you.